So the ability to get up and to engage a group of people and effectively speak to them
Makes people
make
a leader.
you a leader. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting how the culture has shifted around that, because there's so many people that they might not talk to a big group of people, but they'll just talk to their phone, and suddenly they're an influencer, right? They'll make a selfie video of
Yeah.
themselves. They got 400 million hits on TikTok,
And the stuff is captivating.
Yeah.
I catch myself at times.
Sure.
The only place I know to get it is like on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'll get on Facebook and I'll start looking at these crazy videos.
Yeah. And it's tailored for what you think is interesting.
I'll turn around and I will say, I've been on this thing for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which means you've done nothing for 20 minutes
Just wasted
that
a
amounts
bunch
to
of time.
anything. But they are captivating. I have to say
John
that.
Mark Comer will have something to say about that.
Yeah, yeah. it will
Yeah, you're touching on
captivate you.
something that's like that. My dad told me both of those things when I was young. The first one he told me, he said, son, you're tall.
Yeah.
You don't have any choice. People are going to look to you,
Yeah,
and they're going to be
yeah.
influenced by you whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
So you can either choose to be a leader
Yeah,
or whatever, you know.
that's true.
But then the speaking thing, that's a really big deal too. I know that's been part of your story. You have such an the Lord has gifted you with this engaging speaking voice. It fills a room and people are like, oh, who's that talking? I just need to follow that person. That's just something that's all part of it, right?
I guess, it seems like when I speak, everybody says, let's go and attack that guy. No.
They're just jealous. They're just jealous. Well, anyway, so we've
good.
gathered this morning. So, Pastor, and I
We have
listened. I
gathered.
listened well to your message yesterday, and I've been frustrated at how little you've discipled me recently. So,
Oh, well.
it's all on
Here
you.
we go. Hey,
And I've got this book you gave me. Yeah, Practicing the Way. I've got this book you gave me. Never mind the heresy.
It's a very good book.
Never mind all the mystical heresies that are in there. But you gave me this book, and I've got this. I've got this journal. I've got a Greek book. I've got the thickest Martin Lloyd-Jones book I could find. I have So here's my preaching Bible. Here's my this is my backup leather journal. Here's my planning leather journal. Here's my preaching leather journal. And here's my pleather version of the NASB. But it's only the 2020. So I've got my special glasses.
have you got a 2020? Why not a 1995? No, or well,
Well, I bought that before I knew it was bad.
okay. All right. Well, that's fine.
See, I had everything ready. I have my special glasses.
And
I
your
have my
pen.
special pen.
Hey, you'd be surprised the people that ask me that. I'm not joking. It's kind of like, what difference does the pen make? They write and say, can you please tell me what kind of pen? This is what is this? A Pentel pencil.
Oh, you're rocking the pencil today.
I use a pencil an awful lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. People are going to take note of that.
It doesn't matter, if you got a crayon.
Yeah. So I've got my special pen. This one's in black, but if I want to write more Spurgeon-like, I've also got my purple
you got the
pen.
purple. Yeah.
And I can.
I've got a Spurgeon sermon in my office where he's corrected.
Yeah.
And you can it's kind of faded, but you see the purple ink.
Yeah, it really is cool. Ask Pastor next time you go and interrupt Pastor. Ask him to show you the Spurgeon sermon is office. Okay, so I'm just joking with you. I got all this paraphernalia together because
This
I
is
thought
good.
it was
I'm
funny.
glad you brought that out because
Yeah, so-
I'm going back to the office and order that.
One of the rare times where I've actually recommended a book to Pastor instead of the other way around.
Well, the
But,
the name caught me, Plummer, because
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was Alfred Plummer, the old great British expositor.
Yeah, so Robert Plummer, he's at SBTS
Yeah.
in Louisville, and his and just a cool guy. Always wears a bow tie to teach, and he's like a hardcore runner. He runs miles and miles Anyway, delightfully quirky, good professor. I had him for Greek, so clearly he didn't do as good a job as my Hebrew professor, but still a good guy. I'm just gonna keep coming back to the well with that one. I'll just. We're getting off to a great start.
That is so funny.
Well, so we have a little bit of an amended time today, which we don't have as much time, which is why I
because
decided.
I've got us in this.
Yeah.
the guys.
So that's why I decided to waste as much time as possible with this
Okay.
gag about the leather journals, you know. But
Well, it's funny. It is just funny how we get so caught up in all the accoutrements,
yes.
and we let the main thing just pass us by.
Well, that's the thing, and we kind of had that. Well, and you led us in that epiphany last Monday when we're talking through Comer's book, and then you read the quote on Sunday morning, and I thought that was really good, and surprisingly, for at least for me, I didn't see how you're going to connect it, but then you connected it right to Joseph. Like, you got to be discipling yourself.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting around waiting for somebody else to do it for
That's
you?
right.
And why are you blaming your pastor on it? You know, oh, it's the pastor's fault. You know, he hasn't spent enough one-on-one time with. Well, what about you spending one-on-one time with Jesus?
Yeah.
And I'm getting fired up about this just
Yep.
because that's been such a thing for me. You know, I'm still going through this journey of, like, you know, hearing the Holy Spirit's conviction to spend even more time with Christ and not
Well, now,
finding
you
the
know,
time.
Comer talks about that
Yeah.
in what we're fixing to look at.
Yes.
You know,
the
is
secret place.
that enough? You know, he says things in such a provocative way.
Yeah, he does. He does it on
He
purpose.
kind of provokes me
Yeah.
at times, and then I have to stop and go back and say, I think let me read him this
Yeah.
way, and you know, try to catch his angle on it. And he has a good angle. He challenges me, which is what I like.
I like that too, and the thing, and we'll talk about this when we get with the other guys at 9. But the thing that killed me the most was he talked about in the pursuit of God. He gave this list of all these things that God is not.
Mm-hmm.
God is not like a particular doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
God is not like this. God is not the Baptist Faith and Message. You know, 2000. Okay, God is not like, and he said ultimately God is a person.
Yeah.
He describes himself. That's how you spend time with him. And I'm like, man, I need help with that. Because I just think about so many ideas so often as a
You know,
personal
one of the things
relationship.
that I enjoy, and I really have to work on myself to do it, and Robbie Gallaty really, I was preaching at a conference where Robbie Gallaty had spoken.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
I was
yeah.
preaching that afternoon to the guy. But he talked about in his personal quiet time how he had really learned to just sit and be quiet. And I have tried to emulate that. Anyway, and I like to do that early in the mornings.
Sure.
Get into the kitchen. We've got this big bay window, and we've got 2 little recliners on it. Nobody puts recliners in the kitchen but Deb and myself. Anyway, I sit there early in the morning and just get myself before the Lord and say, I'm just going to sit here and wait for the Lord.
Do you have
to
coffee
just-
before you do
Oh,
that?
I have coffee during that. I
Okay.
mean, the
Yeah.
Lord told me clearly, I will speak when you have the coffee.
Yeah. So I can't get through otherwise. That window is beautiful, though.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you've had me over the place a couple times, and man, yeah, it's. Are the swans still out there?
No, the swan is gone.
Oh,
When the lake dried up in the
Oh, that's
drought
right,
last
that's
summer. The last thing somebody said, they saw it going down the river. I'm sure a fox got it. We got so many foxes out there.
That is something though, and my kids. So last night took my kids out to get some ice cream. You know, just down there at Brewster's by
good
Walmart.
daddy.
I know.
What a
Once
good
in a
daddy.
while, I have my moments. But it was right. We got there at 6:15, and this time of year the sun sets just right at 6:30. And so the kids, they got this little playground. The kids are like, "Dad, play with us on the playground." I'm like, "I will in a second." But I got to finish watching this sunset. I just can't get. There is something there. You know, even though I'm watching the sunset over the top of Walmart neighborhood market, there's still something about seeing
It is
like
beautiful.
the heavens declare the glory of God. You know, and I kind of want my kids to learn that from me. I think I might have even picked some of that up from Comer. You know, the Dallas Willard kind of like just stop and be and just enjoy who the
That's
Lord
the thing
is.
about that window is the sun sets just right out that bay window.
Wow.
And we'll sit in there. A lot of times Debbie goes in there and she says, this is just incredible.
Yes.
So we'll go in there and
It's
sit.
better than watching TV, that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, although it was
Uh-oh.
good watching
Again.
yesterday,
Oh my God,
last
the old-
night,
you
the
talk-
Cowboys.
The Cowboys, they did it.
You
They
know?
did it.
So, but at 6:15 last night, I was in Samson, Alabama, listening to the Voices of Mobile and getting ready to preach. I drove 3.5 hours down there, preached, listened to them. They did a mini concert. Then I preached, and I got back home after 11 last night.
Wow, that's really late for you.
It is.
So
I slept the last hour on the way home.
You got one of those auto
and I made it
drive
home. It just automatically took me to the
So
house.
you slept in this morning till 4?
No.
Let your
I did
have
to
that
5.
extra hour?
I slept in to
Okay,
5 this
good.
morning. Yeah.
Good. I was I texted you early about Mr. Ken. You say he's doing better?
Yeah, doing a lot better.
Okay,
He was
that's good.
dehydrated, and he's going home today.
Okay. Well, that's really good news. We were all
Because I was trying to figure a time you and I could scoot up there and see him.
Well, I guess we can if he's gonna head home. But yeah, I don't know, I don't know if Mr. Ken listens to Maybe if hey, Dylan, get on this.
That may be why he's sick and in the hospital.
Start putting. Yeah, he's listened to this too much. Start putting these on a CD and hand delivering them to Mr. Ken. That's the only way he listens to stuff.
gosh.
We got to
Poor
put it on.
Dylan.
We got him off of cassettes. You know, now he's on the CD, but it still has to be physical media. All right, what else do we need to talk about before we close up shop
I
here
don't
today?
know. We could look at the text. What a unique thing that would be.
You know, there are a couple people that reached out to me this past week saying like, no, Kirkwood, really, we do watch the whole thing. We watch the whole thing. We don't cut it off on one side or the other. I'm like, okay, so sorry, I won't criticize
Well, I've
people.
spent an awful lot of time on these first 8
Well,
verses.
it's really got under your skin, I can tell.
I just keep seeing things in the text and keep going back and, seeing these things. And so I put together those 7
Yeah.
principles. What do you focus on when you're in the place of preparation?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a place. I'm stuck in this job. I'm stuck in this, what do you call it? This not a carousel, but the little places the little units where people work.
Oh, a cubicle.
Cubicle. I'm stuck in this cubicle. I'm stuck in this office. I'm stuck in this. I feel like I'm here and I'm not accomplishing anything, and this isn't what I had planned, and I had so many other dreams for my life, and I really thought God was going to do this or that or the other. How do you know that's not the place of preparation? And like Comer, because Comer hints at this, maybe I read it into him, but God's got you in a place. It's time for you to determine you've got to, go beyond just the perfunctory things and give your life over and let Him begin to stretch you and teach you and show you. And
We have this idea that like God is taking some time off. Like if we feel like we're in a dry spell, or like you said, we don't feel like things are active enough, we attribute that to, well, God's not paying attention.
God's in a season of inactivity in my life. God is never in a season of inactivity.
Amen.
In your life.
He doesn't need to rest.
No.
You do.
What was the little phrase? You remember the little phrase, God, I cannot. Do you remember that little phrase he said in there?
In there? No, I probably skimmed past it. But what?
I cannot, God. I can't remember, but I got to go back and memorize that little phrase.
I always think
But
about.
it basically is saying, God's not going to grow me if I'm not going to be in the process.
Well, and that's what you showed Joseph to be doing.
Yes.
And that's and then honestly, you could make an easy connection to Christ. I mean, you think about his first 30 years of life. We barely hear about any of it.
Right.
All of that was preparation.
Right, yes. It is. If he needed 30 years of preparation, in the words of Francis Schaeffer, how then shall we live?
Yeah.
All of that should be so important to us in those quiet, unseen, unknown times. What was God doing in the life of His Son here
Yes.
on earth? But preparing him for those 3 years of ministry.
Well, and even
Same thing with Paul
absolutely those 3 years that he spends
in Arabia.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was after learning the law under Gamaliel. That wasn't for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you could. My dad asked me one time, he said, just when are you going to get educated? It's like, well, finally, okay, I got through with my master's and I went back to work on my doctorate. Dad said, at the end of that, are you educated now? At this point. So you look at Paul, and Paul did. Paul was, this incredible, he was a Pharisee.
Yes.
And you could say he would have been a rabbi. but he was this brilliant man, and yet he goes further.
Yeah.
God takes him even further
He had a
to
lot
those
of
3 years.
A lot of informal postgraduate study.
He did.
You know, and some of it was in human suffering, like learning how to follow the Lord in that way. And that's, you know, that is part of this idea of preparation. You could read into it like there's an ascetic component. Like so much is being like beat out of Joseph during this time. You talked about him being this as a young man, he's at the peak of his physicality, you know, strength, that sort of thing, endurance, but potentially also at the peak of his pride and dumb decision making and that sort of thing. And the Lord pushes so much of that away, gives him good responsibility, and he responds really well.
Well, you know, it's what we're not told that you think about. Do you think he ever sat in the cell and just cried and missed his dad?
I'm sure he did.
And he missed the relationship that he had with, you know, he's 17 years of age, 18 years of age when he gets, I wonder if there was not a girl that he had been looking at when he was 15 and 16, and he thought, she's so pretty, she's so nice, she's so fine, you know, I'll never see her again,
Right.
and my heart was set that maybe this was the one. You know, you think about those kind of things. We're never told any of that.
Right.
But he was human.
Of course he was.
And he certainly had all of the feelings that we have as a human, which is why he makes such a great Old Testament foreshadowing of the Messiah.
Amen
Because
to that.
he was fully human too. He had these emotions and these feelings.
Yes.
And yet we don't read. We're not told a whole lot about that.
That's well said. You think about like all the connections to the Messiah, the time of preparation, time going through suffering, you know, authority being given and taken away, you know, that sort of thing. People following and then disfollowing, you know, being rejected by his family even. You know, the Messiah was rejected by his family.
And then the next person to show him any kind of kindness was Pharaoh. And then there's the rejection there that comes.
Yes.
In an unfair way. It wasn't his fault. He didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right. You know.
It's so it really is so interesting, and I'm looking forward to you unpacking that. So yesterday you said, so it sounds like you've at least penciled in your decision to keep preaching through Genesis in the new year.
I think I'm going to finish out Joseph. I just don't think I can just stop once we get to where we feel like we need to be in the
Right.
Joseph project. I think you need to kind of go on and play out the story. There's so much good history there. So, and I've already, you know, I shouldn't say this, but I've already had a number of people, preachers, out-of-state preachers that have asked, are you going to put this in a book? Well, I hadn't thought about that. I am working on one tentatively.
As soon as you decide which pen to use, you'll be able to write that
when
down.
in the right leather binder.
Yeah, I've got a couple I can recommend. I've got a few of them over here. It's been fun spending time with you guys today. We're going to go do some more Comer discussion. You guys might want to think about picking up that book, and you can let us know if you have any problems with Comer's theology. You can, of course, as always, send those emails to jmcgookin at valleydeal.org.
that's right.
We'll see you guys later. Say goodbye, Pastor.
Goodbye, Pastor.